Attention passionate Washington Commanders fans. Latest news, something big is happening in the NFC East and it could change the game. We're talking about a direct impact on Washington Commanders' path to another Super Bowl run, a power shift that could leave a division rival stumbling for years. We're bringing this to you firsthand. But before that, if you're a true Washington Commanders fan, subscribe to the channel to strengthen this passion even more. Show that you're also part of this family. Let's help each other reach 1,000 subscribers. Share with YOUR, FRINDS and Washington, Commanders FANS. Let's get to the news now, folks. This is one of those stories that could shake up not only the NFC East but the entire landscape of the NFL for the upcoming season. And it's all about a player who has been generating buzz for quite some time now, Greg Newsome. Yes, you heard that right. The Cleveland Browns, a team that's been in a bit of a rebuilding phase lately, might be parting ways with one of their promising defensive backs. And the team that's reportedly eyeing him is none other than our beloved Washington Commanders. This potential trade has so many layers, so many implications, and I want to break it all down for you because it could be a game changer. First, let's talk about Greg Newsome himself. At just 24 years old, this guy has already shown flashes of brilliance in the NFL. He was drafted by Cleveland in the first round back in 2021, and from day one, he's been seen as a rising star in the secondary. Over 4 seasons, Newsome has accumulated some impressive stats, allowing just 740 yards and only 10 touchdowns across his career, with only 891 yards after the catch, which is pretty remarkable considering the volume of passes he's faced. He's also created 3 interceptions and broken up 27 passes. This is a player with a lot of potential, a guy who can be a cornerstone in a secondary for years to come. But here's the catch. Last season, Newsome struggled a bit with hamstring issues, which affected his overall performance. Still, he remains young, athletic, and hungry for success. And with the right coaching staff, like Dan Quinn, who's known for his defensive prowess, there's every reason to believe that Newsome could tap into his full potential. That's why, even with his injury concerns, he's considered a highly valuable asset. And the Browns, who are currently in a bit of a transition phase, might see him as expendable, especially with the draft approaching and a big-name prospect like Travis Hunter potentially heading to Cleveland. Now, here's where it gets interesting from the Washington Commanders' perspective. Last season, Washington surprised everyone by making it to the playoffs in their first year under head coach Dan Quinn. They had a solid run, thanks in large part to their defense, but it also exposed some glaring weaknesses, especially in the secondary. If you remember that NFC Championship game against the Eagles, Jalen Hurts threw for 246 yards and a touchdown, and that game made it painfully clear that Washington needs serious upgrades in the backfield if they want to contend for a deep playoff run again. Adding a player like Greg Newsome could be exactly what the doctor ordered. He's young, talented, and proven enough to be a difference maker. And if the price is right, which seems to be the case here, Cleveland reportedly asking for just a 4th-round pick in 2025, that's a steal for the Commanders. Think about it. A player who's already shown he can make an impact, who fits perfectly into the defensive scheme under Quinn, and who still has plenty of room to grow. That could be a huge boost to the secondary, especially when you consider the options they already have, like Martin Emerson and Denzel Ward. But Newsome would bring a different kind of versatility and youth to the mix, a player who can cover and make plays. Now, let's also consider the financial side of things. Newsome is set to make around $3 million on his 5th-year option. For a team like Cleveland, which is still rebuilding and trying to manage its cap space, that kind of investment might not be sustainable, especially if they're looking to develop younger talent or even look to the draft for future starters. Cleveland has other pressing needs, and with the draft approaching, they might be willing to part ways with Newsome for a reasonable price, like that 4th-round pick I mentioned. That's a low-cost, high-reward move for the Commanders, who are always looking to maximize their roster talent without breaking the bank. But beyond the stats and the financials, what really makes Newsome an exciting target is his potential. Despite the hamstring issues last season, he's still just 24 and has shown that he can be a shutdown corner when healthy. His ability to cover receivers tight and his ball skills make him a real threat on defense. And with Dan Quinn's defensive mind at work, there's a lot of room for development. Quinn has a history of maximizing the talent of his players, and if he can get Newsome back to full health, we could be looking at one of the league's premier young defensive backs. Of course, this trade isn't just about the player, it's about how it fits into the broader picture for the Commanders. Their offseason priority has been to improve the secondary, which was exposed in some key games last season. The NFC Championship game was a wake-up call. Giving up too many yards through the air, especially against teams with dynamic quarterbacks, is a recipe for disappointment. Adding Newsome could be that missing piece, a player who can lock down one side of the field and allow the rest of the defense to play more aggressively. And let's not forget, the NFC East is getting more competitive every year. The Eagles, Cowboys, and Giants are all making moves, drafting well, and adding talent. If Washington can bolster its secondary with a player like Newsome, they could leapfrog some of those rivals and become real contenders again. It's about building a team that's versatile, young, and hungry, players who can grow together and compete at the highest level. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. What about the other options? Well, Washington has been very strategic with their cap space and draft picks, and this move makes sense because it targets a proven commodity. Newsome's age, his skill set, and his potential fit perfectly into what the team needs right now. Plus, a trade like this wouldn't just improve the defense. It sends a message across the league that Washington is serious about contending and ready to make bold moves. So, as this story unfolds, keep an eye on the draft and the days ahead. If the Browns do decide to trade Newsome for that fourth-round pick, it could be a steal for Washington. It could also set a precedent for how aggressive they're willing to be this offseason. With Dan Quinn at the helm and a roster eager to make the next step, adding a player like Newsome could be the catalyst that propels Washington back into serious playoff contention and maybe even beyond. Pause here just for a second. If you want the YouTube algorithm to keep recommending the latest Washington Commanders news to you, it's super important that you leave a like on this video. Go ahead, it's quick and it makes a big difference. Thank you. Now let us continue with the big reveal. Looking ahead, the NFL draft is just around the corner, and the buzz is already heating up. Will Cleveland make that move for Travis Hunter, which could trigger this Newsome trade? Will Washington be ready to pounce if the opportunity presents itself? These are the questions that fans like us are asking, and I can tell you, the next few weeks are going to be exciting. Every move, every trade, every draft pick could shape the future of the NFC East, and the Washington Commanders are right in the middle of it. This potential trade is about more than just acquiring a talented player. It's about sending a message. Washington is serious about improving their defense, about building a team that can compete with the best in the league. Newsome's addition would give them a cornerback who's not only talented but also hungry to prove himself. And with the right coaching, that hunger can turn into dominance. Imagine a secondary anchored by Denzel Ward, Martin Emerson, and Newsome. Talk about a formidable unit that could lock down even the most explosive offenses. And the best part? This move aligns with the team's long-term vision. They're not just looking for quick fixes, but for players who can grow and develop into stars. Newsome fits that mold perfectly. His youth, combined with his talent and the coaching staff's ability to develop defensive players, makes him an ideal target. Plus, the potential financial savings for Cleveland mean that Washington could get him for a relatively low cost, making this a win-win situation if the deal goes through. Of course, some fans might be cautious, wondering about his injury history or whether he's ready to be a full-time starter right away. But all signs point to his resilience and work ethic. And with the right medical and training staff, there's every chance he'll be back to full strength and ready to make an impact from day one. It's about the future, about betting on young talent with a high ceiling, and Newsome certainly fits that profile. So, as the NFL offseason continues to heat up, keep your eyes peeled for any updates on this story. It's a classic case of a team looking to upgrade, a player with untapped potential, and a division that's only getting tougher. If Washington manages to pull off this trade, it could be the move that defines their offseason and sets them up for a successful 2025 season. And honestly, as passionate fans, that's what we all want: to see our team compete at the highest level, to see them make bold moves, and to believe that a new era of success is on the horizon. And now, Washington Commanders fans, I want to hear from you. What's your take on this potential move? Do you think Greg Newsome is the right fit for our secondary? Would you be excited to see him in those burgundy and gold colors? Drop your thoughts, your predictions, your hopes, and your concerns in the comments below. Your opinion matters so much to us and to the future of the team. And don't forget, I'll be back soon with more updates, more news, and more deep dives into everything Washington Commanders. So stay tuned, stay passionate, and let's keep this conversation going. Because this is more than just a team, this is our team, and we're in this together for the long haul.